Hi, I'm Roberta. I am one half of the Sable Stitchers on YouTube, and usually I'm here to talk about cross stitch with my friend Linny, but today I am just here on my own and I'm going to do a little garden tour. So I wanted to do this garden tour partly for me, to remind me of the work that I've done this year and to identify areas for improvement. And there's a lot of room for improvement, I know, and growth, and this, I'm hoping this will help me to be a better gardener going forward. And then also I enjoy going on garden tours, and so I thought you might enjoy seeing my garden as well. I like to do garden tours whether virtually or in person. I always learn something when I do it, and so I thought it would be fun to just pop up a little video about my garden on our channel. I'm going to start with just a quick tour of our front yard. It's just a pretty typical front yard. I have urns on the front porch where I have Calabrachia, Coleus, and looks like the Coleus, at least on the left side, is doing really well. Angel Face Angelonia, and then a purple sweet potato vine. I just switched these pots yesterday because depending on where they are in the porch, they get more or less sun, and so I noticed one side was thriving a little better, and so switched them so that they can both have an equal chance to grow and fill out that pot. And going forward to the front yard, I have Sun Patience, Hot Pink. I believe these are El Brido Coleus, and I hope that color will be a good transition between the false cypress, which I believe is gold mop, in the lawn. Perennial salvia, and then I replaced some of the perennial salvia with cotoneaster a couple of years ago because it was spilling over into the yard a lot. I need to add some more color. I know I will probably add mums in between there in the fall. But in the meantime, I planted rose and white begonias up here, hoping they will fill in and add a little bright spot of color in the front yard. And then I also have a pot here with, I believe that is electric lime coleus, Amara impatiens. I have a geranium in there that is taking a break from blooming, and then petunias, or Calabrachia, I believe. Just a quick peek at our urns in front of the garage. I haven't had any coffee this morning, so this is going to be interesting trying to remember plant varieties and names with no coffee, with that both not being caffeinated. But I have a tricolor sweet potato vine, Euphorbia Diamond Frost, another Coleus, because Coleus is a workhorse in my garden. It does well. The rabbits don't eat it. It tolerates the heat, and it provides year-round. It provides color throughout the season. Then another geranium that took a break from blooming but is coming back. Going down the side of the house, I have a boxwood that needs a little trimming to maintain its shape. Some more boxwood. Kind of your typical foundation plantings of viburnum. And then down towards the backyard, we get into some more color. So we were going to plant some more bushes on the side of the house and found that our electric wires for our irrigation system are down here. And so I bought some large pots and I planted them up differently every year. This year I have marigolds in it and coleus, and then I planted the zinnias from seed, and they are coming up nicely. This is just a pot that I picked up from our local nursery for some more color. I have California Giant and Giant Cactus zinnia seeds. This is a Sunfinity sunflower, and you can see it's turned towards the sun yesterday, so it's not facing us right now. This is interesting. For the past 3 years I must have had coxcomb in the pots at one point, and it reseeded itself, and it manages to come up through the ground cloth and the gravel every year. This is another viburnum. This is Spice Spice Baby. It has beautifully scented flowers early in the spring. Another pot with purple fan flower and super petunias and coleus. I think this is Alligator Alley. We have little boxwoods around the patio area. Another pot, and I was hoping to attract some hummingbirds, and so I have this. I don't know if this is an annual or perennial salvia. I'm going to put it in the garden and see if it comes back at the end of the season. More coleus, a little bitty herb garden with basil, parsley, marigolds. I bought a flat of marigolds, so I have them several places throughout the yard. And garlic chives that came back from last year. I kind of plant the curled parsley for black swallowtail butterflies. They always manage to find it and lay some eggs. And so I want to encourage pollinators, so I do that particularly for them. And then I have several urns on the patio. This year I have these 2 black metal iron urns, and I'm planted boxwood in there for year-round color, and that's Missy boxwood. I have a white verbena. I stuck one of the Amara impatiens in here, and then Dichondra silver falls. This one I am hoping the super petunias are going to spill over. It's bubblegum vista. I think it's Wicked Witch, Color Blaze, coleus. I will think of it. And then I added the pink and white super petunia because I watched Garden Answer and she was showing her containers from last year, and it looked really pretty when the petunias matured and poured over the pot and mingled together in those 2 different colors. And then some Creeping Jenny. Here's my other pot. The name of this is escaping me right now, but these do really well in our heat. And they come in a variety of colors. I really like the white. I have little mushrooms, little ceramic mushrooms throughout the yard because they're fun and whimsical, but I have another pot of coleus, and I have a different variety of, this is an annual salvia in here that is kind of losing the competition between with the coleus. This was a pot that I picked up from Home Depot. That was, you just dropped it in your planter, and I picked it out because looks like it needs a little water. I love the color of the verbena, which is doing awesome, and then I really love the color of this purple and green petunia. I don't know what variety it is. I have never used King Tut before, or this might be a Prince Tut variety of ornamental grass, and it's so fun. I love that. And then I had a pentas in the yard that I planted directly in the garden, and the rabbits were eating it, so I added it in here, and it's starting to bloom. And then we're going to go out to the backyard, into the back garden area. We moved into this house 6 years ago. We started the garden 5 years ago, and when we started, my husband and I planted this front area. So all the bushes, all the annuals were put in here. The trees were not. We have an October Glory maple right there in the middle, and you can't see it too well from here, but I have a serviceberry on the corner. Usually if we have trees, we have those planted by the garden center where we bought them. So I have a lot of covers on my plants because the rabbits are really thick this year. So on the corner, this is Wigelia. Looks like it's got a few more blooms coming up, but it bloomed earlier this year. My daylilies have just started. They have a very long name. I don't remember. Rainbow Rhythm something something. But they're huge. They really like it back here. They get a lot of water. And so happy to see those coming. I know we're going to have blooms for a lot of blooms in the coming days. I have Clematis jackmani. That has been blooming for probably 3 weeks and is nearing the end. I also have a multi-blue clematis on this same tower. That was kind of an accident. You might know I just retired last year. Before I retired, my theory was my practice was I would buy perennials, put them in the ground, and they had to kind of duke it out for themselves, and hopefully they made it, but I didn't have a lot of time to fuss over them. And so I think I had put the multi-blue out, and I didn't think it made it, so then I added the jackmani, and earlier this year, when they were both blooming, it was really pretty, a really pretty contrast. The multi-blue was a little lighter, so it was really pretty together on accident, but it looked really good. This is a penstemon the squirrels planted because I planted it on the other side of the yard and they moved it over here, and it's doing really well here. So these hostas, we have about 14, 15 varieties of hostas. I will tell you what they are when I know what they are. So I had a line of these hostas, and it occurred to me this year it kind of looked blah. They're all the same colors, same height. I wanted more color in the front area of the garden, and also a variety of height. So we split them up and moved them to other parts of the yard, but left this one here. We have snails. I need to put out sluggo snails, and I don't know if we have slugs too, but that's what causes a lot of the holes in the leaves. Cotoneaster. I like the shape of Cotoneaster. I like plants that have kind of that weeping shape, and it adds winter interest as well. We have 2 large urns in the back. This one fell over and broke last year, and so when we glued it back together, it sealed up the drainage hole. And so I put black pots in both of the urns so that the plants have more dirt, and if we, and they have better drainage that way. This one I noticed earlier this week, I'm getting budworm on this. This is Limoncello Supertunia, pink fan flower, which does really well in our heat, and then a Calabrachia. I'm trying to see if I see any budworms, but that's why I'm having trouble with the tunias. And then I also saw the other night that we have Japanese beetles starting, and that will go on for about 2 seasons. So I need to start spraying these with BT, which I really want to encourage pollinators not to do anything to hurt the bees, but this is supposed to just take care of those budworms because they eat it and die. I started leaving tags out when I planted things this year so I would remember what I planted for my video, because I want to review this before next spring and know what worked and what I should be coming back. So I love hooker. I love the variety of colors. This one's coral bells or caramel. Hooker or coral bells is another name for them. In the back we have 3 limelight hydrangeas that I pruned early this spring because I didn't get that job done last spring and they fell over. So hoping they do better this year. An island frost hosta. As mentioned, the rabbits are bad, so as soon as I put out new hosta, they are trying them out. I had this coral bells was in the garden, but I added a second one, and this one is hopefully the same thing, black pearl. We added a hibiscus that's starting to bloom. This should get to be about 8 foot tall. And so I thought that would be a pretty focal point for this area. More sun patiens, because that is one thing the rabbits do not eat. I have a variety of coneflowers, Magnus purple, Cheyenne Spirit, I think, and something else. So I won't know what those are until they bloom. Another coleus. I had an Amara impatient in here that the rabbits are apparently find rather tasty. We put in a white Shirley Temple peony back here this spring. And then this is Boom Chocolata Cranesbill. That's doing very well this year. This is a Bridal Spirea Renaissance that needs to be trimmed up a little bit. Oh my. You see the squirrels in the yard? Right under the bird feeder. Stella de Oro lilies, another peony in the back. Yes, squirrels. Are you the ones that are eating my Liope? This is, I think it's Midnight Salsa Hydrangea. I bought it at Costco and plunked it in here a couple years ago, and this is the first year it's having a bloom. Oh my goodness, I have one like 4 feet away from me. So when we put in the yard, we had a landscaper come out who did the terracing that you'll see in a minute. And one of the pieces of advice they gave me is to have a repeating element to tie everything together. And so that's, you will see the gold mop cypress, false cypress throughout the yard. And that's my repeating element. I planted a Asian lily. This looks like, and since it's new, that might be the only blooms I get this year. It's, let's see, Orange Sensation. And that is, you know, something the rabbits will definitely eat, so have to keep that covered. So this is variegated Liope. I'm going to put some more in here, but I've noticed something is chewing on it, so that's why I did have it covered to try to protect it. Summer Taffy Yarrow. I have 2 Incredible hydrangeas back here. Nepeta or catmint. I'll pull back a little bit. Ladies mantle in the front. I would like to get some more of those. I think I might take out this evergreen here. I had that in my last yard, and you know, it is a good ground cover. It takes up a lot of room. I actually trimmed it back this year, but I would like to add more ladies mantle. I don't know if I'll add it that way or if I will take the sedum out and put it in a drier part of the yard and put it in the front here. Allium Millennium in the front. I think those are Becky daisies that are starting to bloom. Another heuchera, and this one is Toffee Tart. Isn't that pretty? Those leaves are just so pretty. Another little allium starting to bloom. I put in another Boom Chocolata just earlier this week to repeat that element, and just because I just think it's just so fun with those when it flowers. I have another peony in the back that bloomed earlier this year. Here's our second urn. Now for some reason the bugs haven't found this one yet, and I love that color combination. The yellow and purple are so pretty together. My hope is that they will just be spilling over the edge of the pot. I have 2 forsythias in the back. This one is Flying Machine and has been in the longest. And I did cut it back once this year. It looks like it needs it again. Variegated dogwood, more Stella de Oro daisies. I started putting plants up on plant stands this year to keep the rabbits from eating them. This is Banana Cream, Amazing Daisies. I have laced up elderberry in the back. creeping phlox that I planted this spring, marigolds, and I think I'm going to, doing this video, I realized some of my marigolds are not looking good, so I think I'm going to take out some that I have in the pots with the zinnias and put them back here. Veronica or Speedwell that I just planted this year. Hoping that comes back because that's so pretty. And something, I don't have anything else quite like that in the garden. Another really pretty pot where the pentas is starting to bloom. And the petunias are very happy in here. That's Cheyenne peony, not Cheyenne, Kansas peony in the back. So that is a red peony that bloomed. We have spirea in the back. I see I have some weeds coming up there. And here is some more variegated lioropy. And I must have had about 6 planted here. And in our other house we had just the green lioropy, which is very invasive and hard to control. So I planted the variegated because it's better behaved, and unbeknownst to me, one of the pots was either mislabeled or I'm not sure what happened. It was variegated, but it was just slightly different and it was spreading, so I had to take that out this spring. That's why there's a kind of a hole there. I might have to get another one. And so yeah, that was causing problems. So anyway, hopefully these will stay in their place, and I think they're so pretty and they look good throughout the year. I had moved these perennial salvias out, and they have holes because they were under our birch tree, and I think they were being attacked by snails. This is a lamb's ear. I was rather late cutting them back this year, but that's coming back very nicely. Roseanne cranesbill. Another lamb's ear coming back slowly. This is a burning bush. We have 3 dwarf burning bushes. This is the plants that I had in the urns in front of the garage in the spring, and then I just plopped them back here. So like I said, we have a lot of varieties of hosta. When I know what they are, I will let you know. And they're heuchera, autumn joy sedum, that also gets eaten by the snails. I have a coneflower that is starting to bloom, and I think that is it's an orange one. So that's a panicle hydrangea. So our birch with euonymus underneath. More gold mop, false cypress. I have another regalia back here. This was a bare spot, and so this spring I put in, it's called chartreuse on the loose, nepeta, because the catmint was doing so well in the front part of the yard. And agastache, I don't know that I've had it before, but back here is kind of my pollinator area that I really want to attract butterflies, and so I thought that would be a good spot for it. These are many happy returns, and this is common rue. I bought this at a pollinator sale a couple of years ago, and it's come back and spread throughout this area, and this is supposed to be good for pollinators. I have 2 butterfly bushes back here. I just added this one this year, and then I have a mini one that is returning. We had these knockout roses in the front of the yard, and we brought them back here, and they seem to be doing pretty well. They're done blooming for now. So there were a lot of trees in the back here when we had the back area landscaped. The landscaper took some of them out, and some had come down naturally. So this area is thick in tree roots. It's very shallow. I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly what to plant back here. So all this area back here was overgrown, just like this is here. And about 4 years ago, we had a landscaper come in, and he put in all these beds, and I have been planting them ever since. He also put in, he put in 5 beautyberry bushes. We lost one, but and then he terraced up the back here. I'm going to walk around the back of the garden, and then I will go through the garden beds. Some more hosta. This is another plant I got from the pollinator garden. This is Joe Pieweed that's coming up, or the pollinator sale rather. A quick fire hosta. So here's where I originally planted the penstemon. It's starting to come back, but I guess because it's more shaded here, it's coming back a little slower than in the area where the squirrels planted it. This is part of the hostas that we split up. We split them into pretty big chunks, and so they almost look established, but hopefully they will fill out and look a little more established next year. This is another butterfly bush. I don't know if it's too shady where I have it here. This is the back of the hydrangea, and you can see it's starting to get, I don't know, I've got this in the face, starting to get little blooms. So this is a smaller part of the hosta that we split up and put back here. And then, you have to have a little whimsy in the garden, so I have a little fairy house there. Another clematis that is done blooming for the year. It had multi-petals it was very pretty. They're like a double petal flower. And then Berry Magic Royale Holly. These were moved by the landscaper and put back here, and they have struggled a little bit, but I've given them holly tone, and they're looking a lot better. And they have berries, so I think they're doing well. A weeping Norway spruce, because I wanted, I like this kind of shape and wanted to see this in the yard. We have 2 red buds in the backyard. This one is Oklahoma. In this garden bed, I have a juga ground cover. I've spread 100 bags of mulch so far in the backyard, and we buy them 10 or 12 bags at a time. And our goal is to get more of the ground covered so we don't have to do so much of it. And if you're wondering why we do it like that instead of getting a bulk load delivered, which would probably be less expensive, it's because it would probably kill us to have that, because we can't just leave it sitting out in the driveway, and we don't really have a good place to hide it, so we would have to get it spread quickly, and it's a lot of work, especially it gets hot pretty early here. More hostas. This is actually, and there was another little evergreen I showed you. This was in those black metal pots when we moved, and we transplanted it out here. And I think it's another arborvitae. Has a cute shape. It's doing really well. Makes a nice little focal point for this garden. Jack Frost, Brunera. I put this up here for a little shot of color. This is Echo the Sun. So that will be a pretty one. I think these are both, I don't know if they're Empress Wu. They're going to be pretty good sized hostas. These 2 trees were in the yard, and the landscaper kept these when they redid the yard. We just got these 2 statues. They will go back here. I don't like their scale, so I think that's Hansel and Gretel. So I got them from an antique mall. They're old. I don't know how old they are. I think Hansel's lost his head and had it cemented back on. But they're, they make I like to have focal points in the garden to kind of rest your eyes from all the greenery. But they'll go in the back where I have larger trees, and I'll talk a little bit later about why they aren't back there right now, why we didn't put them back there right away. A foxglove that I picked up at Home Depot. And foxglove is a biennial, so it will reseed itself, hopefully, and come back next year. It might not bloom, but this is another red bud. This one is Rising Sun, and of the two, I like the Oklahoma best. Seems to be a little faster growing and really good for our conditions. The landscaper put in 3 arborvitaes for us back here for year-round color. They're all doing very well. And for a little bit of privacy, so to block out the neighbors across the little creek. Here is another pot. I think that is, I'm not even going to try to guess. A begonia, coleus, and caladium, and then wire vine. I just like the look of wire vine. I just think it's an interesting little accent plant. Another begonia with such a pretty salmon color. I think that's an angel wing. This was like a hanging planter at Home Depot, and they're marked down now, so I picked that up. I don't have this hosta covered. This is a new one for me. It's a beakweed drinking gourd. If you might have noticed as we've gone through the yard, I tended to gravitate towards the variegated hostas. So I guess that was like my variegated era, and I realized I probably need some solid colored ones too with interesting leaves. So that one I think it has more of an upright shape, and I think that will be really pretty. I love Japanese ferns, so I have several Japanese ferns here, and then I have a bare spot here, and this one is, so the other varieties are pictum. This one is crested surf. And their leaves are very, very stiff. But that's so pretty. Lenten rose that bloomed earlier this year. I have one under the dogwood that I think I need to move out. Some more heuchera, and these were just planted last year. And the same with perennials is the first year it sleeps, second year it creeps, and the third year it leaps. So I'm hoping my heuchera will look really great next year. I think that's a silver beacon little ground cover. I don't know what the other name is. We don't have any cats buried here. I've had this cat statue since our other house, and it was out in the yard, and the landscaper ran over it and cracked it in two, but he's cemented it back together. I can see where the crack is, but it's still a sweet statue. This is 9-bark tiny wine. Another little planter. This was on the ground, and I think the rabbits were eating it, so I put it up on the plant stand and moved it to a different area. I know deer eat caladium. We have deer every now and then because I had caladium in my tall urns, and one day I came out and they were all just totally eaten off. So there's like someone just came by and grazed and just ate them where they were. So we are going to be putting in metal edging here, so I haven't fussed around and taken all the weeds out. You can see we live near the river or the lake, so we have a lot of poison ivy. We lost 2 trees over in this area a couple of years ago and put in another maple. I'm not sure what the variety is. Then in this back area, this is one of the beautyberry bushes. It's starting to get little flowers. I love beautyberry. We had those at our other house. Oak leaf hydrangea, this is his 3rd location. I think rabbits apparently like these too. It was moved when the landscaper put in the terrace, and then we moved it because when the 2 trees came down, it was in a sunny area and they like to be in shade. So I might need to get a barrier to put around that to protect it a little bit more. Another Princess Wu hosta. I do know the name of this little guy, and this is Hosta Designer Genes, Genes. This is Hakanakloa, or Japanese forest grass. Another planter, and it has pentas in it and not hydrangea, coleus. I moved it back here so that there'd be a pop of blue to draw the eye to the back of the yard. So I did a garden tour earlier this year, and the yard was a shaded yard. It had over 100 varieties of hosta in the back. And one of the things I noticed, the owner, because this is an area I have, 3 trees right here and a tree stump. So a lot of different roots back here. And these small hostas apparently have trouble competing with the roots of the big trees. So he buried a pot in the yard and put the hostas in the pot, and they were thriving in that pot. Another beautyberry. This is 2 more of the hostas that we split and moved back here, and this is a very shady area. They're doing very well. This had been grass, as you can see, and I'm transitioning it into another garden area, and I'm doing that by putting cardboard on the grass and then covering it with mulch. And it was hard for my husband to mow back here. This will be a little easier for him to mow, and I just like the way it looks, and just to have a little more of a barrier from the plants on the edge of the creek. I want to keep it natural because we get a lot of wildlife here, and cranes and ducks, and we've had a fox here in the past, raccoons, and I want to keep it natural so it's in a home environment for them. It's a little brush pile my husband created, and I'm afraid there might be a snake in there, so I am not touching it. He's going to have to clean that up. Another Empress Wu hosta. I have a milkweed in the back that I didn't plant, but I'm not pulling it up because that is a host plant for monarchs. I'm going to take a detour here to this little bed because I do know the names of these hostas because it's a fun one. It's Whee, W-H-E-E, and they just have these really fun curled leaves. Just a little bit of white or yellow on the edging. So that's very fun. And then this little lonely bed here, I've had 2 bushes in here and neither of them made it. We had issues with our sprinkler system last year. It just was not the water wasn't working in the way back, and so I think it just didn't get enough water. So I put in a bird bath there, and I'm thinking about putting in little, I think they have a hosta called Mouse Ears hosta. I thought that would be cute there. So more heuchera and hosta. This was all planted last year, so this needs work. I know I need to put some more things back here, I think, and have to decide what I want to do back here. This is a Bracken's brown magnolia. I actually had a lady who I talked to before and then she recommended the landscaper, and she drew up a plan for me, and she wanted 4 magnolias back here. And the landscaper said no because they were messy plants, and they are. They just drop their leaves, and it looks a lot better now, but they do drop their leaves in the spring. I think that's a spearmint heuchera. Very, very pretty. I have a volunteer I think that's a raspberry bush I'm leaving for the animals. And then this part of the yard still needs to be done. Back up here, We have a dead tree, unfortunately, on the lake, and it has dropped a large branch that is suspended over this area. So this is where Hansel and Gretel are going to go, but I don't want to bring them over here because we have a forester who's going to come in and remove that branch so it doesn't fall on. So I guess I want the branch down before I do more work here because I'm afraid things are going to get trampled. And I don't really like working under that branch. Here's two more of our hostas that we split. And I've been trying to give them a little extra water. This too, I'm going to extend the garden out here so my husband doesn't have to mow in that back area. You can see more poison ivy. If you've never seen poison ivy, this is what poison ivy looks like. No, that might not be poison ivy. This one is. Gotten very familiar with it. That is the beautyberry that didn't make it. So the landscaper, we had a large evergreen on the corner of our house that was too large, and he moved it back here, and it was so pretty. But then 2 years ago, a beaver chopped it down, believe it or not. So I put in a smoke bush here. These can get, I know our neighbor has one, and it's about 8 foot tall, but I just thought that plumy fronds would look really pretty against the lake. So the smoke bush, and then the spotted lungwort. I think I had something else back here that didn't come back. So that's why it's good to do a video to remember what didn't work in what areas. So that's a quick view of our yard. I'm going to go back up this way and then do a little view from the front. Lots of areas that need work, that need to be filled in. I'm happy to be retired and keeping up with noticing when plants are, maybe struggling a little bit and doing something to help them, whether it's giving them more water or moving them to a better location. And my hope is to get the yard to a place where it doesn't require so much mulch and, maintenance as far as putting in more perennials. I know things happen all the time. I just wanted to point out this is a little pot I got at Home Goods, the pot and the stand for a reasonable price. And so I put it in here. It's another little spot of color that I can see from the house. Gardening is a journey like anything, and I feel like I've learned something. They have master gardener classes. I might go to those in the fall, and I know I would pick up a lot of information from doing that and figure out ways to be a better gardener and to have a better yard. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time, and hope you enjoyed this little tour of our yard in 2024.